Good evening, guys, and welcome to our session this evening. My name is Reevana, and I'm from the Daily Reev. And tonight we are joined by Mark and Andrew. I'm going to introduce them shortly. And we're going to be talking about cracking the code, decoding the cost of living in the UK for expats. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. Please just make sure that your mics are switched off and your cameras are off. We are recording, so if you would like a copy of it at the end of it, we can always share the link with you. And if you want to share it with anybody else, you can do so. So please just make sure your mics are off. We will have a question and answer session at the end. If you have any questions that you think of while we're going through the presentation, feel free to just pop them in the chat box and we'll have a look at the chat box at the end as well. So as I mentioned, my name is Reevana and I'm from the Daily Reev. Some of you might know me from Instagram, TikTok, and I am a South African expat, proudly South African expat. My tagline on Instagram, for those of you who follow me, is "Hi, my name is Reevana," and that is how I have been growing a following here in the UK and South African expats who are currently here, or some people that are also looking to move. I'm married to my husband for about 10 years. I am a mom of 2 girls. Actually was an optometrist back in South Africa and a retail specialist. But since moving here to the UK, I am now a full-time digital content creator over at the Daily Reev, and I do social media management and coaching. So tonight I am very excited to be bringing you this webinar just purely because I'm really passionate about this journey. I am living this experience myself, and I want to share my journey with you. And along with the expertise of Mark and Andrew, we really have exciting stuff to share with you tonight. So I'm going to introduce to you, Mark. Do you want to say hello before I do an introduction to you?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We've got a good number of participants tonight. Thank you for that. I know it's a bit later in South Africa, and hopefully you've excluded load shedding so far.
So Mark is of Forbury Properties, and Mark started in the property world actually in 1986. He says when it was black and white. I'm saying I wasn't even born back then. But he basically has 37 years of experience in property. He was an estate agent selling homes for 21 years, and the last 14 years he's been in corporate relocation and helping people, especially with their companies, find their rental homes, locate schools, and all of those things that are really stressful when families are moving. 80% of his clients are currently from South Africa, so he is helping people, find their homes here in the UK every day. He's also been a landlord from 1999 and a tenant on and off since 2011, so he does know a lot about property. He has run a lettings and property management department and basically spent the last 35 years building, nurturing, and managing relationships with agents up and down the country, both corporate and independent. So he has a wealth of knowledge. I've also just shared some of his reviews, and you guys can go and have a look. But Mark has, people speak so highly of him, and I can say the same because I've actually used Mark's services. When we moved, he helped us actually find the home that I'm sitting and speaking to you from in London today. So I can really vouch for both of these guys and just the passion that they have for what they do and just the expertise that they share, especially when you're going through a journey and not understanding what you're getting into. Moving to a new country, it's very overwhelming, and I speak from experience saying that. So these guys come with a wealth of knowledge that just helps make everything a little bit of a smoother process. So next up is Andrew. Andrew, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi everyone. Mark's got a few years on me, unfortunately. So I don't have 37 years of experience, but I'm 37 years of age, if that helps. But I started quite young and have 2 children myself, so understand families moving. Excited to see what Reeva has to say, because myself and Mark see the end of the process, or the middle to end, so we don't see the full journey. So really excited for this one, and yeah, been helping for close to 15 years now, done over 1,000 relocations. So
1,000, that's incredible.
A few stories to tell.
Yeah. So Andrew is from Dream Move Relocation, and he started out in 2004 by purchasing his first property. He began working for a global relocation agent whilst gaining further education with his master's degree. He set up his own company, which is Dream Move Relocation, in 2013 as property finders for those relocating to the UK. He's an active investor in the UK property, as well as advisors to those moving to the UK. They're a small team of 2, and they have grown organically through word of mouth. And I think that's exactly what it is. That's how I found you guys as well, word of mouth, with people from across the world that are interested in moving to the UK. So like I said, both of Andrew and Mark have just got a wealth of knowledge behind them. They're also both situated in very different parts of the UK, and they're going to give us an understanding, I think, of the different sorts of parts of areas in the UK that you can look at. The city life is not for everyone. Some people want to be in different parts of the UK, and I think they can really give you that sort of advice to also understand what would be the best fit for you. So let's get into it, guys. And here we are. We also have some reviews for Andrew. So if you want to have a look at that, you can check his Trustpilot reviews. But both these guys have 5-star sterling reviews. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so today we're talking about the average cost of living for a family of 4 in the UK, and this is mostly from my experience living here for the past year and a half. We're going to be breaking it up into different segments. I'm going to be talking about housing, we're going to be talking about utilities, transport, groceries, schooling, private healthcare, as well as recreation. So living in the city can offer bustling energy, convenience, and proximity to various amenities. However, it does come with a higher price tag. So we're going to look at some of these expenses, and we're going to look at both scenarios, living in the city and also looking to live out of the city. So firstly, the first one we're talking about is housing. If you're living in the city, housing costs can be significantly higher due to limited space and high demand. A family of 4, for example, may spend around £1,500 to £2,500 per month for a decent sized apartment. In contrast, if you're living on the outside of the city, there can be more affordable options. So here you're looking at about £1,000 to £1,800 per month. Now, the reason we sort of look at this is purely to understand, and I want to give you guys a better understanding of when you're looking at that package. You're starting out this journey, you're starting to look for work, and you get a package or you get an offer, and you just have no idea as to whether this offer is going to be something that can sustain you and your family, or whether it's a good offer. The one thing I can sort of put your mind at ease to say is that from the many people that I've spoken to and the many people that have been on this journey, somehow we find a way to make it work. But it's also good to have that idea and to be able to budget and to be able to understand the type of lifestyle, especially when you're leaving a life behind and, something that you've possibly already set up where you have a good thing going, but, you're looking for other opportunities. It's good to have an understanding of that. Sorry, I'm just going to mute somebody quickly. That's Joy.
No, I'm not going.
Okay, so moving on to utilities. So utilities would cover, a lot of the bills. Utilities for a family of 4 can vary. Obviously, it's based on usage. On average, though, you've got monthly expenses for gas, and there's a lot of stuff that is using gas. Most of the, your stoves, a lot of your heating, your radiators are all using gas. Then you still have electricity on top of that, your water, and then you've got waste disposal, which comes basically in the form of a council tax. But this can range basically between about £100 and £200 extra a month. Depends also on the region that you're in and the size of your property. So this is something that you would have to factor in. And then we go on to transport. So now, obviously, if you're living in the city, you're a little bit closer. So the city does offer excellent public transportation networks, and in some instances, reducing the need for a private vehicle. So your monthly travel passes for a family may cost around £200 to £300 a month. Usually what we do, and, I think just because of coming from South Africa and having a car, actually having 2 cars, my husband and I each had a car in South Africa, because it's a very sort of driving sort of society where we drive everywhere. We wanted to have a car when we got here. The one thing to bear in mind is it is a cost that you're going to have to think about before you get here, because credit also, you're not going to get credit for a while, so you're rolling on cash for a while. So we had to dip into our savings and actually purchase the car cash, just so that we would have a vehicle. That was something that was important to us. In saying that, we don't use our vehicle all the time. My husband does not use his vehicle to go into work every day. He takes the train into work. It's the most convenient. There's also lots of taxes for, being in the city. So you don't want to be taking your congestion fees and stuff for going into the city. So you don't want to be taking your car in there. So you're going to be using the trains for the most part of it. But for like our weekends, we like going out. We like going out to the country. We like taking the kids out to different places to see different parts of the UK. So that's where our car comes in, and we do enjoy having a car. If you're living outside the city, though, you are more likely to require a car. So this obviously would add to your expenses, budgeting for fuel, insurance on your car, and of course maintenance. So approximately looking at about £300 to £500 a month that you would have to add on to that cost for transport. And then going into groceries. So now groceries, obviously it depends on a lot of factors. Where you are, it depends on your dietary preferences, your shopping habits. I mean, if you have people with maybe severe allergies, if you're looking for more gluten-free, if you're doing a very high protein, whatever it is, it does change your budget. A family can expect to spend around 300 to 500 pound per month. Sometimes it can be more. It obviously depends on how you shop, but I do find that groceries are really competitive here. So I don't, obviously Mark and Andrew can also back me up here. I think everywhere cost of living in terms of the cost of things are just going up and up and up. And when I compare now in terms of groceries here versus back in SA and looking at the prices, I would say it's very much on par. I wouldn't say shopping here and is that much more expensive. So like your fruits, your vegetables, you can actually get all of those things quite affordably, and there's lots and lots of options, so you can really shop around. Lots of things are online. You get lots of loyalty programs as well, where if you shop at a certain store, you get cash back and you get percentages off, you get coupons. So all of that is really big, and I find that if I'm a little bit more careful, I can save a lot and just extend that budget a little bit more. And then schooling. So if you have school-age children, and this was a massive factor for us because we've got two girls. I've got an 8 turning 9-year-old, and I have a little 4-year-old. She'll be 4 next week. So schooling was a massive thing for us. And I always say to people, when I was looking for information about this move, and this is why I started sharing about our immigration journey, when I was looking for information on this move, it was just a lot of young couples without kids that were sharing about this or that I knew of. I didn't know a lot of people who were doing this with kids, so there weren't a lot of people that could advise me on the school process and whether I should go, because you don't actually know. In South Africa, my kids were in private school, and I wasn't sure of the difference between private versus state schooling here. So in the UK, public schools or state-funded schools are free. So at the moment, both my kids are in a state school, but there are also the option of private schools that are available, and that comes with a tuition fee. So if you are looking at a private school, the fees can range between £10,000 to £30,000 per year, obviously depending on the institution and the level of education. And then nursery fees, guys. This is something I think that everybody complains about in the UK. The government is trying to do their best to help. I think they've even passed a new law now that's going to actually take the age where they are helping with nursery hours a little bit earlier. So it's going to give parents a little bit of reprieve. But at the moment, nursery fees are exponential. You are spending about £250 to £350 a week on nursery. It's really, so early childcare is really important, really expensive. But once they get into that age, so they get into that 3 to 4, getting help from the government. So currently my youngest is turning 4. She is in nursery, but she's in a state nursery, the same school that my daughter is going to. And the government actually gives us 15 free childcare hours, and we are able to top that up. And at the state school, it costs us about £85 a week to top her up so that she goes for the exact same hours that my eldest goes. So I just do one pickup, one drop off, which is very convenient. As of next year, though, the next year, as in meaning in September when the school year starts, she will go into what's called reception, which is the first level of compulsory school here in the UK. And then schooling is going to be free for her. And for reception, I think it's year 1, and if, correct me if I'm wrong, year 2 as well, they also get school meals for free. So that also helps quite considerably because, I mean, depending on the area that you're in and the schools that are available, you can use the Ofsted rating system to find a good school, find a school that's, got a good Ofsted rating, and really put yourself in an area where you can take advantage of the fact that state education is free. The next thing is private healthcare. So in the UK, the National Health Service, or the NHS, does provide free healthcare to all residents. However, some expats do prefer private healthcare for additional benefits. Private health insurance for a family can range from around £200 to £500 per month extra. It depends on the cover, it depends on the provider as well. A lot of companies, and depending on the field that you're in, a lot of companies do give you as a benefit. Sorry, 1 second, let me just mute that. So yeah,
the dog's in the lounge.
Just gonna mute. Sorry, guys. So yeah, in terms of your private healthcare, if you some companies might offer you as a benefit they might offer you private healthcare on your package. So it would be as part of your package. A lot of companies actually do that. A lot of families here, though, they do find that, the person who is basically working for the company has a private healthcare, but the rest of the family is on the NHS. My husband, and from our experience and being back home and just wanting that extra peace of mind, we did get private health insurance. So the same insurance that his company has put him on, he pays additional for us to be on the same insurance as him. And so basically we have private medical insurance, and then we have a private dental insurance as well. In saying that, so far, we've mostly used the NHS. There are only certain things that I used our private to just sort of get a quicker appointment, and that's what it's usually about. The NHS basically works on a urgency. So depending on how severe your situation is, that is possibly how long you could wait. So sometimes you're getting an appointment quite quickly, other times you're waiting a little bit longer. So if you don't want to be waiting and you just maybe want more urgent care, then I would suggest maybe looking into private healthcare. And yeah, that's what you're looking at if it's something you want to go into. Okay, and the next thing is recreation, because when you live here, we are not only living to work, we want to enjoy this new country that we are exploring, this new country that we are living in, and the UK really offers a plethora of activities for the family to enjoy together. There are so many museums, parks, historical sites that are all free to visit. There are lots of cultural events. Costs can vary for different things that you do. On average, and this is just an average rating, right? It depends obviously on what you guys want to do and the sort of stuff that you enjoy doing. But on average, a family can spend around £200 to £500 per month on recreational activities and outings. But in saying that, there's just still so much free to do. We're currently in midterms. We have a few holidays coming up, so we're not doing anything with the girls for midterms at the moment. We're on a 1 week holiday, and all I've done is taken the girls to the park. There are just lots of parks. We have a park just 5 minutes away from us. Take the girls to the park. Lots of their friends, because we all live in the same area, are at the park as well. So we set up little play dates and they love it. So, this holiday has not cost me much at all to have the kids at home with me. Also, one of the reasons that we decided as a family for myself to be at home with the kids, there's lots of holidays and childcare. I think nannies, babysitters, or pairs can be quite expensive, and just didn't make sense for us to actually, both of us, to work a full-time high-paced job. But you have to look at it from situation to situation. You have to look at your individual family, your needs, your budget, and make that decision for yourselves. Okay, and that's it from me in terms of the cost. If there's any questions, I think we're going to look quickly at the chat box, and I've got a few questions from a poll that I did yesterday on my Instagram, and there were a few questions on there, so we're going to answer those. Mark and Andrew, you guys can switch on perhaps, and then we can, there we go, you are there, and then just put your mics on so we can go through the questions. Let's just open the chat box and see if we have any questions there, and we can just jump on them as and how we see fit. Are there any questions on here? Okay. I think we will share a link with the recording afterwards, correct, Mark?
Yeah, so that's right. Yeah.
If you are on here, we'll share a link with you afterwards. How would citizenship work, assuming I'm entering on a work visa? So as far, and you guys can just hop in when you're ready. At the moment, it is, if you're on a work visa and you are here, basically what we have is a residency permit. So my husband is we're on a tier 2 working visa. I come over as his dependent, and his company basically sponsored his visa, and then he sorted out our visas. And then what happens with citizenship, essentially, I think it's after 5 years, if I'm correct, that you get an indefinite leave to remain, where you basically have permission to stay in the country indefinitely. And a year after your indefinite leave to remain, you can apply for a British passport, and that basically gives you citizenship and the opportunity to live, work, and yeah, your kids will get a passport as well. So that's basically how it works once you're here. But obviously that is putting in the time of the 5 years and then the additional year afterwards. Let's see if there's anything else. Single. Look, I think in terms of like a single individual, I think in terms of, I mean, I've been looking, if I'm looking at the rental, for example, would you guys be able to give us more or less in terms of like property, if we're looking at a 1-bedroom versus a bigger space, like what would the average cost be?
From a rental price?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, it obviously all depends on areas, because Andrew's going to be in the north, it's going to be slightly cheaper there. And certainly if you're going to be in London, the one bedroom prices there can be anything from 12, 13, 1500 upwards if you want, if you like. Whereas you can come out towards the west of London, towards Reading, where I live, and a one bedroom property can cost you 900, £1,000, substantially less. But depends if you need to go into London. Currently, it's great that with a hybrid version, most people work in 2-3 days in the office, 2-3 days out of the office, if you can do that, which is great. So that's, I think that's the only good thing from COVID. It's actually helped family life, that it's helped people work a flexible working week. Most people might think they've got to go in 3-4 days a week, but once you've established, you know, people where you're working, most people are working, it seems to be like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in an office, and Monday to Fridays at home. So it's quite good. It's quite a good blend, I think, for everybody. It's quite decent. But say family wise, it depends on whether it's just yourself, whether you want a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom apartment, whether family are going to come over visit. As you said earlier, you're getting friends and family coming to visit you quite often, which is lovely to see. They can also stay locally at hotels and things, but if you want them to stay with you, then great. But it's super expensive wherever you are. There's just such a shortage of properties in England, unfortunately. And it's not because there's hundreds and thousands of people coming to England. Well, there are, but I think it's just the stock has just dwindled over the years. It's the Without going to government problem, they need to be incentivizing the landlords to invest in property rather than keep trying to tax everybody. And that's just shrinking the market, which is why people are seeing on all the SAFA groups out there that they're struggling to find a property because there's so many people after so few properties. There's nothing wrong with you. We deal with numerous South Africans and international clients. We only deal with international clients, myself and Andrew. And I said before,
one thing I just want to ask you, Mark, do you want to just tell people, just give them an overview? Obviously, I've introduced you, but just give them an overview of what your and Andrew said, like what it entails and what you help people to do. Because obviously, it's once you're moving,
Yep.
that's when we actually jumped on a webinar just like this,
Yep.
and that's how we got your details.
You did.
But you're moving, and the first thing you think about is, where am I going to live?
Yep.
So how do you hold the hand after that? Tell us
Okay.
about that.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So myself and Reeva, she through her husband, we actually met technically, and a colleague of his as well came on the very first webinar that Andrew decided for us to do about a year and a half ago. One friend decided to live in Milton Keynes, one decided to live in London. Both worked in the same office. Fantastic. What essentially we do for people, we are your eyes and ears, and we're your property agent working for you. American would call us a realtor, but we're acting for you. So we help you because no one looks after the tenant. The landlords get paid by the estate. Sorry, the landlords pay the estate agent. So the landlords are always being worked for by the estate agent. Whereas I've been the estate agent. I've worked on the other side. I'm now going to the other side. So we're helping you. So we use my knowledge, my experience over the years, my contacts, for us to try to really fight your corner. Because if you send an inquiry in, as many people have said to me, and a lot of people say to me, Mark, just answer me one question. How do I get somebody in England, an estate agent, to call me back in South Africa? And I say, I don't know. They don't call me back. I have no idea. So there's no secret weapon, but we just have to be on the telephone constantly all the time. I'll let Andrew tell you a story about how many inquiries he made earlier and how many viewings he got, but it's just incredibly tough. But Andrew, tell the story you spoke about earlier.
Yeah, we were out yesterday, so we'll generally, because the property market's so quick, everyone panics, and obviously we start the search roughly 4 to 6 weeks in advance, but we kind of increase the search normally the week before, if not a couple of days before. So on Monday, I have an assistant who helps me because it's pretty intense. So we made 72 inquiries by email and phone calls. From them 72, we got 2 viewings. The 2 viewings were on the Wednesday. We didn't get to pick the time, so we had to turn up, one at 11, one at 3. By the time it got to the 3 o'clock one, it had already gone. So what was effectively a day's work on the Monday and another day's work on the Wednesday, we had 1 viewing to show for it. So
Wow.
it's
and that's with us knowing what to do and what to say and how to say it, because we have to be really confident with these estate agents. We can't be we're confident, we can't be arrogant, because if you made that phone call from SA or another country to an estate agent, they would think this person seems very arrogant or pushy. But we know how to push, when to drop back, etc. But
the market. So
exactly, we know. Yeah, we know who we're talking to, and that's
also,
what we do.
I think there's a level of etiquette in every single country. There's a different level of etiquette in terms of in different industries. So you understand the etiquette, you understand what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So it might sometimes come across in the wrong way if somebody's like, but why are you not replying? But maybe that's not the consensus. That's not what we do here. There is a question here, Andrew, specifically asking about somebody is looking at Manchester. So could you tell us a little bit about, because obviously you help a lot of South Africans that come over there. What is the appeal? What is it like? And give us an idea of some like average rental prices in the area. And what do you think is the draw factor? Like, why would you say to people, you're considering moving to the UK, you have, maybe they're not specifically working in Manchester itself, but why would you say it's a nice place to relocate to?
It's, to be honest, since COVID, we've had a lot of people move from London up to Manchester because of cost of living being less. So those who are working remotely, they tend to have moved to Manchester or surrounding areas. So we've had the rental bounce from people still on London salaries but now living in Manchester. So we are catching up on pricing. As a guide, generally city centre now you're at about £1,000 for a one bed. Coming out to the suburbs, you can be anywhere up to 20% less, so around about 800, depending on what suburbs, because it can change within 3 miles. If you go over to somewhere like Liverpool, I'm actually there tomorrow for an Australian couple. I'm viewing stuff at anywhere from 700 to 900. One beds, 2 beds around about 1,000. So it's about 20% cheaper if you compare Liverpool with Manchester. Both great cities. I lived in Liverpool for 4 years, so I was at university there doing my undergraduate and my master's. A little bit smaller, probably a little bit friendlier because it is smaller. But yeah, both great cities, to be fair. I grew up in Manchester, so I grew up in North Manchester, now live in South, which is seen as the slightly more.
Is there?
Yeah, so it's
Don't even know you're behind mute.
so yeah, I mean it's a nice place to live. You've got countryside within 40 minutes, the Peak District. You can be in Wales within an hour on the beaches, and then you've got everything you need in kind of bars, restaurants, schools.
And then you have Old Trafford as well, if you
Old Trafford, yeah, big cup final day on Sunday. So Manchester United versus Manchester City. So one half of the city will be happy. So we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah.
So we also have a question about travel and work to other European countries. So unfortunately, if you have a residency permit and work permit here in the UK, you still do need a Schengen visa for visiting any of the Schengen countries. So we've had to get a Schengen visa. Thankfully, we actually got a 2 year, so we've been using that to travel. But it can be quite expensive if you're getting 3 months or 1 month at a time. But yeah, unfortunately, you can do all of the UK, but the other countries, you're going to have to get a separate work visa or a separate Schengen visa to travel as well. Let's see if there's anything else on here before we move on to.
There's Neelam. Shall I answer the question that Neelam's put up there? So Neelam asked, do you expect a decrease in rental prices in London anytime soon, perhaps in the next year or two? Unfortunately not. the way, unfortunately, the prices are just going through the roof everywhere, and I'm not just trying to scare people. You can just look on Rightmove, which is one of the best barometers to see easily, and if you save them over the last few months, you'll just see how prices have been going up because landlords know they can push prices up. Unfortunately, it's super tough, super tough. So they are certainly, I don't see them coming down. I think they did before COVID for sure, and as Andrew says, people moved to Manchester, they moved to the coast, they moved all out of London because they didn't need to live in London, but London will always be a big draw, obviously. Are break clauses common in lease agreements? Are there any disadvantages to using a break clause? Also, how easy difficult is to purchase property? I'll do the property one afterwards. Break clauses. So what most landlords want you to, they want you to be there for several years if you could. So the way we try to organise, if we can, is to try and get at least a year contract, because they do not want 6-month contracts, because they get charged every time the landlord introduces somebody through the estate agent. They get charged a fee, obviously. So if it's 6 months and 6 months, that's 2 months money they've lost probably straight away. So they'd like at least a year contract. London surrounding, they tend to like 2 to 3 year contracts. We'll always try to negotiate somewhere down the 2 to 3 year agreement, but a 1 year break clause, which, as we all know, is just a 1 year contract wrapped around a 2 or 3 year deal. So we have to try and make it assume that the landlord thinks we want to be there for 2 or 3 years. You may well want to be there for 2 or 3 years, but just means it's future proofing you guys. So if you're happy where you are, so Reev, you've been in your house now a year and a half. So after the first year, if you weren't happy, you would have changed. But by then that goes very, very quickly, doesn't it? Very, very quickly.
Yes,
so you love where you are. It's so quick. It's incredible. That first 6 to 8 months is just you're finding your feet. You now know where you're going for your food and the parks, etc., etc. So you're loving life. And say, well, the London museums are still free now, which is great. It's brilliant. So the break clause will always try to get that year break clause in there, but you've got the estate agent who doesn't care. He wants to lock you in as long as possible for his landlord, and we're trying to battle against them. So there's always the war between us and the estate agents generally. So that's on the lease agreements. How easy, difficult was to purchase property as an expat, mortgage, etc. I think so. There's a very good friend of mine who's a South African friend who's a mortgage advisor that I speak to a lot about this. Now, some people can come in the first 3 to 6 months. They can get credit rating straight away. I think you normally have to build up a bit of a credit rating. He's great to talk to if anybody wants to have a chat with him. He can tell you where to get your local buy supplies and things and everything. He's fully versed in where to go. And he's now bought his own house after being here for about 5 years. So he's really well versed in telling you what he can do. I don't want to say too much and not give you the correct information, but it normally would say take you 6 to 12 months to get some form of a credit report. It's very expensive to buy a house here, as you know as well. So it is possible, but it depends on everybody's circumstance, whether you have savings.
The thing with us as well, because we're obviously in that spot now where we're thinking about buying a house, and for us, in terms of a mortgage, it's going to take 3 years till we can actually get a good rate. So after 18 months, you might be eligible.
Yep.
But you might not get a really good rate, so you're paying a lot of interest on your mortgage. So sometimes it's worth waiting and finding a rental, perhaps finding the area that you like, just waiting it out and saving a deposit, because at the moment there is a 10% deposit that you need to save, and in pounds that 10% racks up
a lot.
Converting to rand. So even if you have savings, unfortunately, like we came over with our savings, but we had to use that to set up our house. Look at furniture and just things to make the girls comfortable. We came over with kids, obviously. So, I think that is a hard part, that you're rolling basically in cash, because even just the banking side of things is difficult. You don't have the same facilities that you're building from scratch. You need people to trust you.
There's lots of quick ways to build up your credit, so you're good to go with that. But you're right. A lot of people will say they want to try and buy a house as soon as possible, but I would say just take your time whilst you're renting. Don't think of it as dead money, because you're not. If you spend however many 100,000, is exactly research. So it's good research, great research, because you're thinking, I definitely want to live in this side of London, this side of Reading, this side of Manchester, this side of Liverpool. But you can then take weekends, different places to visit and see where you like at different times of the year as well. So just take it as good research.
Absolutely.
I agree. There's a few good. So Credit Ladder is a good one. So if you're renting, generally, it doesn't count towards your credit rating, but you can use different tools. So it was actually a South African told me about this about 3 years ago, where it looks at your rental history by using Credit Ladder, and that actually helps to your credit rating. Or when it comes to buying in the 2-3 years time, I think on average, I've heard a couple of years until you get that stable credit rating of having a good loan for a good mortgage.
Absolutely. So another question here, I think it was, would it be better to rent out a furnished or unfurnished apartment? Look, honestly, it depends on you, right? Because lots of places do come furnished, and it's very helpful, especially when you're landing here and your container is going to take a while. That was actually one of the reasons we decided not to bring a lot of our big furniture, but it is a personal choice. We didn't bring a lot of our furniture. We got a furnished place, and we just bought appliances and stuff here. It just was easier for us. But a lot of places come furnished, and it's generally good quality stuff that they have. It's not. I haven't had a bad experience with that. But it's a personal preference. I just found it easier to do furnished and just bring sentimental stuff in our container. It just didn't make sense with plugs and stuff. It just felt like too much. What would you guys suggest?
For the north, it's very area dependent. So if you're city, 90% are furnished.
Yeah.
If you're suburbs, you're going to be pretty much part furnished. And part furnished means carpet, curtains, white goods. So your kitchen appliances will be there.
Yeah.
But nothing else. Well, they may have fitted wardrobes, but that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a good one. Well, we got the deal agreed on Monday actually for a family, and it was a lady who's moving in with her daughter. So they were willing to leave the furniture, which probably saved the client about £4,000.
Wow.
And then they can get rid of it as and when they wish. So, and there's charity shops who will pick it up when they want. So rather than landing with no beds, no couches, anything like that, they land with beds made and something to sit on, which is quite nice. So
there's lots of things with Facebook, Marketplace, Gumtree, etc., etc. And we say to people all the time with the charity shops as well. Our goal, me and Andrew's both our goal, when we're helping clients, is to try to find a property before you've landed, to save you Airbnb fees or hotel fees, because they can be extortionate, particularly in July and August coming up as well. It's summer season, obviously. So that's what we ultimately try to do as much as possible, because that can save you thousands of pounds in Airbnb costs, because it's super expensive, super expensive, because they know they can get away with it. So. But yeah, it's very much individual. If you can, unfortunately, South African furniture doesn't like English apartments or houses. It's very big, and obviously we're a very small island.
Sizes are completely different.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a question here that said, can you rent and complete the process before landing? And that's what you guys do, right? You help us complete that process. I mean, you guys helped us complete that.
Yep.
Personal experience, you complete that process.
Yep.
So we had our rental agreement. We had a place. The reason we had stopped at an Airbnb for a few days is we had an Airbnb for 4 days. And the reason for that was just purely to get our Wi-Fi installed, to get like odds and ends delivered to our house. So we wanted to get a few appliances delivered. So we didn't just want to go into a shell, and that's what we wanted to be tourists for a few days before we got into hustle and bustle of setting up our entire apartment. So that was the reason we did an Airbnb. But I think apart from that, it's actually a soft landing to it's very possible to have all of that done before you get here.
It also helps with the schools as well. Well, I'm sure you agree that really. So if you have the tenancy agreement, you can effectively start applying for the schools without having any legal documents to show where you're living. And you're kind of stuck in limbo. And it takes about, well, I don't know what it's like in London, but it takes roughly 2 to 4, possibly 5 weeks from finding a property to getting enrolled into the local school. So
I've heard it can be that. I must say, from our experience, it was really quick, and I don't know whether it was just maybe the area we're in and there was spaces available, but I had actually, even though we had the rental agreement, I hadn't done the application. I delayed it. I sent it off, but I hadn't. I can't remember what it was. But we got here. I was in the Airbnb and I was emailing the school to say we need a space. It was on a Friday that I sent the email. I was contacted on the Monday to say. I think I spoke to somebody, physically phoned them because I started to get stressed and panicked about it. And then I spoke to somebody on the Monday, and also it was almost the end of term. So I thought, nobody's going to actually reply. It was holidays still. Eventually on the Monday, somebody had actually contacted me, and we were offered 2 places within like a matter of a few days. So for us, it was actually a week until started school. So sometimes you get lucky. You don't actually know what it's going to be, but it can be a process. So it is better to actually sort out. And I should have done that.
You can't know everything. You don't know what you don't know. It's impossible to try, but that's why we try to soft land you initially. So that's like your eyes and ears, like we say, to try and find you the house, because until you got that signed contract, as Andrew says, you can't apply for the schools. It's chicken and egg. It's so tough. I tip my hat to anybody that does this. I really do. It's a massive move, but that's where we try to help.
You guys want to give us, so there's 2 questions that just come in before we get to the Instagram questions. Renting with pets, and then we've got one on the average time that this process actually takes. So I don't know if you guys want to just, each of you do one of them.
Do you want pets, Andrew?
Yeah, we do actually have a pet blog coming out next week. And a couple of weeks ago, there's something called the Rental Reform Bill, which is making it fairer for tenants with pets. Now, in my personal view, it won't make much difference, because the letting agents will just make an excuse of, oh, we went with another applicant. But it's signs in the right steps. And with pets, it's how do you approach it? So me and Mark, we ask for quite a lot of information up front, and it's how we present that information to the agent. So Sam, who's the lady who just got the deal agreed Monday, she's coming with 2 dogs, and they were like, look, no chance with 2 pets. So we did a pet CV. We got photos of the dogs. We kind of not made them look glamorous, but just kind of showed they were small and cute, and people would be at home with them. And eventually they turned around and were like, yeah, we'll take the dogs. So it's sometimes how you present it, and being prepared is the best advice. Whether you use us or not, I'd always recommend having a lot of information to share with the agents, because the agents want that smooth process of, once you've been accepted, they want that to know that everything's in place to make sure there's nothing to create a hiccup in the letting process. So that would be my advice, definitely.
The pet CVs are very, very good. I've got one I'll just briefly show you here, where we had cute little pictures of dogs and the couple on your lap, and you just try to humanize them as much as you can, because an agent, as Andrew says, they won't really care about your pets, unfortunately. We're a pet-loving nation, but they just want an easier life. We have to try and help you as the clients to help you on your journey. So if it's 1 or 2 dogs, they're your fur babies, right? They're your smaller children, your younger children who don't answer you back. And that's what people love about the pets. They want to take them. It's very expensive to bring them over as well. You want to make sure they're safe and sound. But it's always, once this Reform Act does come in, and I think they're not allowed to unreasonably allow you a pet. Hopefully this is by the end of the year. So if you're already living in a property and you have the ability not to bring your pet this year so far, they can't unreasonably not allow you. That's what they're trying to do. But if you're new to it, as Andrew says, they can still pick and choose, because there's 20, 50 people after each property. But if you're already in a property, then think, actually, we'd like a kitten or we'd like a cat, then that's where it's going to try to help you. But the biggest reason why a lot of landlords don't like the tenants is that the government, in their wisdom some years ago now, used to charge 6 weeks deposit, dilapidations deposit, and that went up to 8 weeks if you had pets. And they said that's not fair to people with pets, so we're going to make it 5 weeks across the board, so it's fair with everybody, which made it not fair for everybody with pets, because the landlord was 3 weeks down from 8 weeks to 5, and he's saying, so why should I rent my property to people with 2 dogs with no children, and I'm 3 weeks less to put? So it just, with the more numbers, if there were less applicants around or less properties, it would be different, but it just makes it so hard. So it's just getting to know the agents. But by doing the CVs, and Andrew does these a lot, and I've learned from Andrew to use these now, it's been really effective. Just you need that extra little hint just to get over the edge sometimes, and it just helps to see that. In fact, just gets to the landlord, because we don't always get a chance to speak with the landlord, only through the estate agent. But I know what I'm going to say to the agent, because I want the landlord to hear what I'm saying, because I'm a landlord as well. But pets is always a very tricky one.
There's one other question about the process. You did answer that, 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, cool. Okay, so a lot of the Instagram questions that we have answered a few of them through the webinar. Somebody did ask, how do rental deposits work? I know you said 5 weeks. Do you just want to touch on some of the maybe documents and stuff that's needed, so people can sort of get their head around that, in terms of the admin costs that maybe come up as well, and then just what the fees are, or how much of a deposit you need to put, stuff like that? Yeah.
Andrew, do you want to go that one, or?
Yeah. Sorry, I just replied to a message on the chat there.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, all the agents, as far as I'm aware now, operate the same policy of 5 weeks is the maximum deposit.
Yeah.
And they take a holding fee of 1 week. So if you see a property and you offer and you're accepted, they will take a 1 week holding fee. And that's effectively to stop you continuing to search and say, oh, we found something better, or oh, we've changed our mind. Because it does cost the agents about £60 to £80 to do the referencing. So, but that 1 week holding fee is deducted from your final deposit. So you pay 1 week to reserve the property, the remaining 4 weeks of the deposit. And then when you move out, so long as the property is returned as received, you get the full 5 weeks back. So we do condition reports when you move in, and then we also do them when they move out. So really they should be comparable. There's a degree of wear and tear allowed for how long you're there. And also if there is a claim, say the carpet has got a stain on, they can't charge you for a full new carpet. They have to work out, it's called betterment. So basically they have to work out the actual cost and the age of the carpet and the degree of cost that should be applied. So sorry, got a bit technical there on betterments, but yeah. That's how it works.
There's also a question in terms of, and this is something I've heard as well, didn't happen to us. I mean, we used your services, so we just went stock standard 5 weeks. But where some people have had to pay, and I don't know whether it's a have had to pay or offered to pay. So maybe you guys can clear that up, because I have had a lot of South Africans also say to me,
the rent in advance.
Yeah, rent in advance. So some of them, because of not being new to the country, them not knowing them, they've had to pay like 6 months, 12 months rent upfront. So could you just give us a bit of overview on that, and when and why that might happen?
Yeah, we do get this a lot, where some people say we can actually pay some months upfront rent. We have some people that, if the landlord is risk averse and we're trying to attract somebody as a prospective tenant to them through a video calls, they're not going to meet them, they might meet us, they may know us, etc., but they want to be just as comfortable as possible. They want to know that if they might be starting a new job. Now, it could be on probationary period, so they're going to be, because they have so many choices, they're saying, why should I choose this person here? We know you said they're great and they're lovely and they've got a cute dog and a cat and kids, etc., etc. But the way we try to use the deposit, if we can, I had a client the other day, I had a long chat with him. He was here on his own. His wife and kids were back in SA. He was stressing out, and it was about 7 o'clock at night at the Zoom call. And I said, I won't say his name, but I said, if I were more local to you, I'd be taking you for a beer, because you sound really stressed. You need an arm around your shoulder and a beer and just a chat, etc., etc. And he said, I've offered 3 months in advance, and everything he was saying to me, Mark, I know is true. I know I've got to do this, this, and this. And I just said to him, is there any way you could beg, borrow, steal, rob a bank? Don't rob a bank, obviously. Please don't say it as advice.
You're being recorded, Mark, please.
I know I am as well. I just realised that as well as an error. I know.
To stay here.
I know. So they're saying, and I just said, is there any way you could possibly, maybe at the worst case, get 12 months potentially in advance rent up front? He managed to get that agreed in principle with a relative. He also managed to get a local UK-based guarantor, as some people ask as well. Now, so we use all this information, but we then feed back little bits when we can to the agent. I managed to get him a great house local to where we are here with an agent that I know very, very well. We managed to only pay 3 months up front, so it's saved him the 9 potentially. And also the guarantor will come off after the first 3 months and then just pay monthly. But what it was is that the landlord just wanted to know he had the means to potentially pay. So they just feel more comfortable. So the way we have to be very creative when we're trying to negotiate a deal like this, we have to try and get it agreed on the basis that we could pay 6 to 12 months. Then we try to renegotiate less if we can. It's a very fine line we have to go here, because we're working for you and they're working for the agents as such. But we try as much as possible. But if they're new to a position or just new to the country, that's where a landlord may ask for more in advance. So if you have if you just sold a property, you may have facility to pay more in advance, but that's a lot of money, particularly with the rand as it is at the moment. I'm not going to go there. It's getting tougher and tougher. I know what it was today when I transferred some. I know. So it's getting even harder. The rents are going up. You've got to be positive still, obviously, but it's just hard. It is. So when people ask for the upfront payment, it's just to know that we sometimes use that to sort of, we could be more competitive than somebody who's just down the road. That you might be competing with 2 people down the road who live locally, who've lived in London, Manchester, Reading all their lives, can pay 3 to 6 months upfront, and the landlord says, well, Mark, I know you said you've got great people with 2 lovely dogs and cats and kids, etc., but why should I go with you guys? So it just helps us give that extra sort of feedback, and the way we can try and work it, the agents want the easiest life for them, unfortunately. So we just have to we have to be friendly with them. We're not friends with them. We have to work with them. But yeah, that's some of the reasons why they do it.
Great. I'm not sure if there's any other questions that we missed on here.
Good questions, no?
Yeah,
there is, yeah, very good. There's one about area and choose to move. How tough is it to transfer kids from school to school?
Oh, that's actually not look, I mean, it's admin, but I think in terms of school, they want the kids to be in school as quickly as possible. So, once you sort of you have a rental agreement, you can just start the process, apply. They're really good with that stuff. Like at the moment, we actually just started the process for my daughter to go into reception, my youngest to go into reception. It was everything was done online. It was the most seamless process. I applied online. I put my 3 options. These are the 3 schools that I want. Actually, I only put 2 because I was like, I mean, she's going to one of those. There's no way she's sending her to one of these schools. And then we basically, you send your application in Jan. We got a email, I think it was in March or April, I can't remember, but was I think April. And they would send out an email to say whether you've got a place at the school, and basically you've got a place at the school will contact you in the summer term. So I just find that everything in terms of schooling, and I also got the biggest shock of my life, because when I did that first application for my eldest to go into school, they said to me, okay, you'll get something in the mail. And I just went like, what? You're going to send me a letter in the mail? Like, that's going to take so long, and I literally, like, the next day I got something in the mail to confirm the space. And people call you back. Everything's on email. I must say, people don't like to email. They do not like to email here, but we get a lot of stuff in the mail. And even like from the doctors and stuff, everything comes in the mail, but it's just like one time, everything happens, it's fluid. So those sorts of things, I just like, there's somebody that's in charge of every single thing, and they do their job properly. So it works.
The mail, like you say, works. It was incredible for us as an English person. I sent Christmas cards to my clients for the last couple of years. I got some fantastic. Oh my God, thank you for the card. It's so good. It was just a Christmas card we used to deal with everybody, but it was just so lovely to get some feedback. It's like, oh wow, okay. I thought it was a small gesture.
So I got so many Christmas cards, and I actually made a video about it, saying to people that you're going to buy Christmas cards, because you're going to get lots of Christmas cards. I did see a question come up about the cost of the relocation. Now, we're not actually getting into the cost today, but I have done a very, very detailed video on the costs of the process of immigration, the costs of the immigration, basically at the point that we had done it and the cost that we had incurred. And it's on my YouTube channel, which is also called The Daily Reev. So if you guys want to go through that, I've got quite a few videos on there detailing this entire process, the schooling, like how to do the schooling, how to actually even how to beef up your LinkedIn profile if you're looking for work overseas. So I've touched on all of those things on my YouTube channel. So if you're looking for more detail on that, definitely check it out. Those videos are there, for you to have a look through and share and ask questions on as well. I just want to have a last look through the questions on Instagram, but I think we've covered everything so far. I hope you guys found it helpful. I hope this has been helpful. I think it's been wonderful for us to get together and chat. I think we all come, I'll do that on here. I'll actually share a link, 1 second. I think we all come from a different background in terms of, this is an experience I've actually walked. You guys have, your expertise actually working with us every day. So it comes very full circle in terms of giving you a holistic view of what this could be like. I'm going to just type the link here quickly for you guys.
Thank you for the comments, everybody, as well. That's really
good.
Thank you. Really good questions as well. Great questions.
Best advice is pre-plan. Don't arrive and then realise that there isn't much. So it's, I get that a lot. I'm in a hotel. I need to move in somewhere by tomorrow.
Wow.
Okay.
There's never an early enough time, is there? But whenever you're thinking this year, next year, even if you just want to chat with one of us just for some advice, we'll have to talk to you. It's not a problem. We'd rather you not get ripped off by somebody. At least we give you a few hints and tips, if nothing else.
Exactly. I'm just typing in the address here in the meantime.
We may be learning some South African words as well. So, dankie, I take it is thank you. I don't know the other word, but.
Thank you. Also, I've done a new video today on some South Africanisms. So if anybody is on my Instagram, you can have a look and have a bit of a laugh on that one. I've just shared Andrew and Mark's details on the screen as well. If you guys want to contact them, you can have a look. Like I said, the proof is in the pudding. They have all their reviews. You can look at their Trustpilot reviews. They have really good reviews, and all the families that they've helped already, I being one of them, obviously. And you can have a look at their websites and the services that they offer, but I cannot tell you how helpful it was for us to just have somebody that just holds your hand through it,
Thank you.
There we go. I've just shared my YouTube channel on there for anybody that wants to have a look at any of the videos, but you can also follow me at the Daily Reev on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are. Do you want to tell us about, do you have a breakdown of your fees, Mark, Andrew, if you want to share with us?
We don't have a standard fee. That's why we talk to everybody individually, just work out whether there's one of you, two of you, cats, dogs, pets, etc., 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 kind of thing. We do look for a fee, obviously, because this is how we earn our living. This is what we do for day to day, basically. But always happy to have a chat with everybody. We tell everybody what we do. There's nothing hidden. We tell everybody what we do charge and how we charge, etc., etc. And we just say, listen to us for 20, 30 minutes, have a chat. If you want to use us, great. If you don't, it's not a problem. At least we've given you some free advice, which at least will help you no end. It really won't. So happy to talk offline another time, or have a quick Zoom call with anybody if anybody wants to. There's no question too small. We have some great questions tonight. We've been stretched tonight. I thought we might have had an easier evening, but we haven't. So thank you. We prefer to be stretched.
I must say though, in comparison, and I'm saying this from experience again, I'm talking from experience. I've literally just walked this journey. But for me, the fee that we paid versus the sort of the information that we got, and also just the taking away of that stress, I would have paid more, honestly.
Now you tell me, Reeva.
Yeah, I would have paid more, honestly. Like it took so much of the weight off, and also you sort of negotiated for us, so there was no issue of needing to pay like 3-6 months upfront. So that negotiation was just easy. So in essence, you actually saved us money. So.
But that's what we try to do. We're not going to make millionaires. That we're both small businesses. We're both two people. So we're not a corporate company. We're not trying to make lots out of this. But we're earning a living. That's it. But we love the journey. We all love the journey that we do with and help with clients. So it's nice that we can then give something back like this with a conversation with people. But we're there to help. We're a service that people, if they want to pay and think they're getting a value for money, great. If they don't, it's not a problem. It's fine.
It's like at the end of the day, it's about who sees the value of your service, right? That's
exactly.
It needs to be a value proposition. But yeah, that's it. If there's, I just want to have a look. There's nothing else on here. Do you want to? Oh. Ursula, we are wishing you good luck. It is not an easy journey. I know that, and it can sometimes feel demotivating. I completely understand that. So wishing you all the best, and I hope we've helped a little bit to give you a bit more insight. But thank you everyone for joining. Baya Danki, yes.
Danke, yeah, Baya.
Okay. So, yeah, we're gonna have to file up on that one, Mark.
yeah, okay.
There's no holding thumbs when offers are in.
Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you guys taking out your time this evening to share this insight with us and your expertise with us, Mark and Andrew. So thank you. And as I said, everyone, if you need any further information, feel free to contact them. Even if you're just doing that 20-30 minute chat, I think they just have so much so much of helpful information to share. We will also be sharing the link to the recording. So if you want to catch up on it, make notes, share it with anybody that might find this interesting, please do that. We will share that link with you. Thank you so much once again. And that's it from us. And good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reeva. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.